Here's how you can do your own French curl boho braids at home. I got 4 packs of Free Tresses French curl braids in the colors Tea Copper, 30, and 530. When prepping your hair, you want to be very careful not to tangle, so I'm using this serum that has a lot of slip to it, and I'm applying it to my curls, and then I'm very gently separating each section into smaller pieces, and then separating those pieces into smaller pieces. Take your time when doing this step, so that way you can avoid tangles. I did end up using all 4 packs of hair, and I did kind of randomly mix my colors together. I'm doing medium parts for this style, and I'm using Braid's braiding gel to make sure that my parts come out looking clean. And if you struggle with getting your hair in the way, this grip clip was clutch. Okay baddies, it's time to lock in. I'm starting off with my first braid. So I'm not using any braiding hair for this style, so I'm inserting the French curl braids as my braiding hair, and then I'm adding about 5 pieces in total. The more hair you add, the bigger your braids will be. So I don't recommend making your braids too thick for this, just because the French curl is really the star of the show here. If you're like, wait, Indy, I don't know how to do a knotless braid, watch this video right here after this tutorial so we can break it down step by step. I'm pulling out a piece about every inch all the way down. I'm pulling out about 4 to 5 pieces each braid, and I'm trying to make sure that every braid has a mix of the colors that I picked. So that copper, that burgundy, and that color number 30. Where my natural hair ends, I'm using the Braid's gel to slick it down, and that way it'll help avoid your hair frizzing in the braids. Once I get to where I want my braids to stop, which for me was about chest bra strap length, I go ahead and I tie a couple of small knots using a small strand that I've separated at the bottom. For this style, I don't dip the hair in hot water, so tying a knot at the end and then adding a little dot of nail glue is really what's gonna help seal the ends. I get my nail glue from press-on nails that I do myself, so if you're into DIY beauty, here's a video for that. So look, if we're being really honest, sometimes the hair did tangle, but all you have to do is kind of trim those knots off in a downward angled motion and keep braiding, girl, okay? Another hack you can do to save some tangles is to cut the curls before you prep the hair. That way when you pull it apart, there's a little less tangling towards the bottom, but I didn't do this for every single bundle, but it is something for you to try if you want. When I start getting to the braids that are towards the front and the top, I make my braiding part a little bit shorter than the ones beneath it, so that way I can have a layered effect to my braids. So one of you guys asked me in my comments how to get your braid to stop twisting when you're braiding the back of your head. Now, when you're braiding and you can't really see what's going on because your hands are directly behind your head, what you want to do is make sure that 1, your grip is firm, 2, that your hands are pushing towards your scalp and you're not pulling downward as you're braiding, and 3 is to braid with confidence. And by that I mean don't buffer or like glitch as you're braiding and kind of backtrack. Just kind of move with confidence as you're braiding and grab the other piece. Remember, braiding is really repetitive. It's all about patterns. So you're basically doing the same exact pattern all the way down your braid. So if you know to cross over the pieces, just go ahead and cross them over, you know? Don't cross it over and then kind of like uncross it to try to like fix it. You know what I mean? Just cross, 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 and keep going. I hope that made sense. If you guys have any questions, let me know down below. But I do pinch the base of my braid as well, just to make sure it's not twisting. Once I get about 2 inches down, I change my hand positioning, and now my hands are swung over to my side, and that's gonna allow me to keep braiding down without breaking my arms. If you're new to braiding your own hair, first off, welcome. Welcome to the DIY club. Second, be patient with yourself. I read all of my comments and I love to see you guys tell me the stories about how it took you 3 or 4 or even a week to braid your hair, but just be patient. You know, it sometimes will take that long. For me, this took about 4 days or so, and I did it in a couple of different sessions. Now I could have did my entire head all in one go. It probably would have took about 7 or 8 or 9 or 10 hours, but I try not to put a time constraint on it just so that it doesn't stress me out. You know what I mean? In the meantime, you best believe I wore a hat. For the very front braids, I like to leave out a curl very close to the base of my scalp, so that way that curl can frame my face and kind of fall in a cute spot. And also when you're doing different styles, you have the option to leave that curl down, and it's just super cute. Now I will admit my boxes at the top of my head were a little bigger than I anticipated, but it's totally fine. The thickness and fullness of this hair was perfectly fine, and I did end up using 4 packs in total, so you can get away with using 4, but I will say I probably should have grabbed 5 just in case. And you know, just in case you have some hair that tangles, you got a little wiggle room for mistakes. And yes, I wore the same shirt for 4 days straight. Not too much on me, all right? This is the very last braid. Look, it doesn't look like I'm excited, but let me tell you, I was so excited to be done. I love this color combo. And at the time of uploading this video, it's almost Thanksgiving, so I think it is perfect for the fall. It's definitely giving, all right? And if you're afraid of doing color, please don't be. Let this be your inspo. For my finishing touches, I did go back in and trim a little bit more so we can have a more layered look, but this is definitely optional. You can keep it exactly how it was, but I definitely liked the front braids to be a little bit shorter and kind of fall like a waterfall. So to prevent tangling, you need to separate your hair into smaller sections and twist it going with the curl. I keep my hair in these chunky twists when I'm not really doing anything, when I'm working out, when I'm sleeping, when I'm just in my house being a bum. I keep my hair in these twists to prevent tangling. To top it off, you can use a bonnet or a scarf, but I got this lock sock from a hair convention. Oh my gosh, so good. Lock sock, if you're seeing this, hit me up. Okay, I use this lock sock all the time. And I also use my IBH bonnet on top of it, just so I can sleep comfortably. Okay, so boom, it was date night. I was going out to eat with my boyfriend, and it's time to take down the curls. So I'm using a little bit of that hair serum that I used in the beginning, and I'm just very gently detangling and undoing the twists. Now, you don't have to do too much, you know. You can also use a brush if you feel like the curls are getting a little tangled, but just be gentle. This took me literally about 5 minutes to do, if that. And then once that was done, you can definitely see the curls came back to life. To me, my hair is not done until my edges are swooped. So I'm using Style Factor Edge Booster Edge Control to swoop my edges. And this is what the finished product looks like. Look at the color, y'all. Oh my gosh, this is like my favorite style to date. I hope this video was helpful and you guys can do your own hair at home. Don't forget to give it a like so you can share it with other baddies, and check out my other DIY braiding videos right here.
This one thing that got me